Good morning. Thank you very much for joining me for AM status hearing. And I do want to express my sincere gratitude for your uh, presence and for your patience and for your um, willingness to check out what happens here. I also want to point out that it is my biggest priority that I not offend anyone. Um, you may or may not find what I present here useful. I hope you do. But more importantly than whether you find it useful is that I not offend you in any way. And if I do, I am sincerely sorry for that. That is not my intention. My intention is not to judge anyone or anyone else's what works for them. I have the utmost what works for anyone else. I have the utmost respect for. This is what works for me, and I hope that I'm always reminding, or I'm always very clear that this is one person's point of view and that there are a lot of other points of view out there that are just as valid. So, again, I sincerely appreciate that you take any time at all with me. I'm humbled and I'm very grateful for it. And I do hope you find it useful. We'll begin on the back today. And just begin with that diaphragmatic breathing. Inhaling into the belly, exhaling, allowing the belly to fall. And relaxing here. When we're sore and achy, a lot of times we grit our teeth and um, suck it up and go through it. And if the back hurts or the hips hurts, they hurt because there's some kind of immobility, some kind of impairment to your movement, or some kind of injury there that's affecting your ability to do what you want to do. That's what's causing the pain. So if there is an injury, if there is tightness, when we power through it, we're increasing the tension. We're contracting muscles in order to do that. So we are exacerbating the condition. And one of the reasons why I think it's so important that a day begin with a little mindful breathing is because the other thing that you do when you breathe mindfully is that you begin to relax your body. You may not relax your body for the rest of the day, but if you took a couple moments to consciously relax your body now, before you even start your day, if you took a few moments to go into those areas of pain where you try to muscle through and you just bring some awareness there, you relax them one time during the day, I believe that that would help you to be more aware of that as the day progressed. So that when you felt the pain, maybe you would take a second to relax. And then if you muscle on after that, it is what it is. But I think if you even took a moment to relax, if you remembered, and that's the key right there, that's the trick. We don't remember. Our habit is to muscle through. So let's do that now. Just breathe. Inhale into the body, into the belly. Let the belly relax. If we really let go, you can feel the breath the way it's supposed to work. When you inhale, the body expands, the belly, you feel the belly fill forward. side, back. It's like a balloon. It even fills outward. So there is a pressing down of that flexible muscle that is the pelvic floor, those flexible muscles. So when you take a big, big breath, biggest breath you can, that pelvic floor even swells. And when you just let it go, you can feel it. The pelvic floor begins to pull up into the body. Everything begins to sink and center. Maybe that's a good way to say it. Sink and center. Sink meaning down toward the floor because we're lying on the floor. And center meaning everything's coming in to the center of the body. So let's take a moment for that. Fill, sink, and center. And now be a little more intentional with your breath. If you gently push all the breath out at the end, turn your attention specifically to your pelvic floor. Fill your whole body with as much breath as you can, and then let it go. And push all the air out. Keep focusing. Feel your pelvic floor as you push the air out. All the way to the end. At the very end, you're going to feel that pelvic floor begin to push up into the body. It's creating a vacuum that's going to draw your next breath in. And that's what's happening with a natural breath. You take a breath, the body fills, the pelvic floor expands. As you exhale, the pelvic floor begins to push up into the body. The diaphragm begins to relax. And there's a vacuum that's created that draws the next breath in. So now turn your attention to your spine. We're lying on the back and the knees are bent, which means that our center of gravity is going to sink toward our spine and our hips. So you're going to be able to feel your hips. If you let go of your muscles, gravity is going to cause your hips and your spine to sink, and your shoulder blades to sink into the floor. So when you exhale and you relax, your lower back's going to pull a little bit away from the floor because your lower back is pulling toward the center. We said sink and center. Everything's pulling toward the midline, the core center of your body. Your lower back's going to pull up a little bit, but your spine, it's sinking into the floor. Your hips are sinking into the floor. And if your spine is sinking into the floor, you can relax your lower back to its max. If your knees are bent, your hips can sink completely into the floor. Your spine can sink completely into the floor. And your lower back should feel pretty relaxed. Now, you might be feeling like, oh, my knees are getting tired, in which case you might want to turn your knees toward each other so they could kind of support each other. But even that is going to cause a little bit of lifting in your spine. So let's just walk the feet about hip width apart and just let the knees drop side to side. They don't have to go all the way down. Now, if you're doing this, you're probably finding, oh, it's my body kind of wants to twist with that, which is great. Let it twist. But now we're going to come to the center, and I'm going to encourage you to bring your arms out as wide as you can. Turn your palms to the ceiling and let things flop side to side again. And then flop over to your right. Now, if it's not comfortable, I mean, I could just let everything go. When I flop over to my right, I'm a little tight in my back, and my left shoulder wants to lift off the floor a little bit. Now, I can't stretch through here if I don't anchor one end. So I'm going to anchor the back of my shoulder. I'm going to anchor the back of my hand and the back of my forearm. Those things, I'm not going to tense. I'm going to firmly ground the back of my shoulder and arm. And now I'm going to go back to my breathing, filling the core, emptying, letting everything sink toward the center. Now I have a twist in my spine. So I really have to relax through the left side of my spine. But I have to kind of anchor through the right side of my spine, or I'm going to have a backache. That has to anchor. So I got to anchor at my left shoulder, and I got to anchor at my right lower back. I can't just let my whole back go. But once I anchor those areas, now I can let the left side of my body go. Oh, ho, ho. And I can exhale. And as I exhale, oh, I want to feel that a little more. I can step my foot over a little bit. Or I could just drop my knee a little more. But if I really relax through my left side and keep my arms nice and wide and anchor my left shoulder, anchor my right waist. And just let those knees go where they want. My lower back starts to soften. My waist starts to soften. My belly starts to soften. Now, that may not be comfortable for you. You may have been holding your belly your entire life because that's what's supposed to happen. You're supposed to have a hard belly. And that can't be. You cannot have a hard belly all the time. If nothing else, you're going to eat and it's going to soften because it has to expand because your stomach is filled. And when I talk about the belly, I'm talking about the muscles themselves. The stomach is that digestive organ, but when the stomach fills, my muscles have to expand to accommodate it. When the belly gets pushed down by my lungs, because my lungs are filling, the belly has to accommodate it. The muscles have to accommodate it, or I can't breathe. You have to let go. So I'm going to exaggerate that. But that's flexibility. That isn't lack of strength. That isn't lack of tone. It's flexibility. A strong muscle is a flexible muscle. So I'm going to fill the lungs. That's going to push the belly out. And then I'm going to let go through my waist. Oh, that feels so good. I feel a stretch through the lower part of my abdomen. I was talking the other day about how this just opened for the first time. I've held my stomach as tight as possible for decades. And I only began to relax, I would say 2 years ago, because I couldn't breathe anymore. I couldn't run. I couldn't do cardiovascular exercises. I was out of breath climbing the stairs. I wasn't hugely overweight. I just couldn't breathe because my muscles were so tight. And as I relax, I'm feeling my new, told you about the other day, my new abdominal muscle. It's been really, really exciting. Let's come back to center and just allow your knees again. Well, let's center again. Bring both arms, square them off. Allow your knees to just rock side to side. And then let's just flop your knees over to the left this time. And again, when I flop my knees over to the left, my right, my left shoulder wants to pull off the floor. That's fine. That's fine. And you might even feel a good stretch here anyways. Even if your shoulder pulls off the floor, you might still feel a good stretch. I'm going to flip around. The problem with flipping around is then I rotate my head. So I'm going to have to come back. You might feel a good stretch here. Great. So you can stay here. If you're thinking, I don't feel a thing, then you can anchor your right arm and shoulder. And you can anchor your left lower back. So your right arm and shoulder and your left lower back. And now, as you exhale, just wow. Let the knees pull that right hip. I'm sorry, I'm backwards. Away from your right shoulder. The knee is pulling the right hip away from the right shoulder. The right shoulder is anchored in place. Now, I need to let go or that will not stretch. If I try to grind into it. Now, I can make an effort to stabilize other muscles. And to be quite honest, that's what we do when we live. I mean, that's how we breathe. That's how we walk. That's how we run. That's how we exercise. One muscle stabilizes so another muscle can relax and flex. When you walk, you take a step forward with your right foot, your left, the whole side stabilizes. Your right side has to relax. Your right hip and your right lower back have to relax to lift that knee. And then they come back down to the ground and they stabilize so that the next foot can lift. And it happens over and over again. So you can stabilize other muscles, but you cannot stretch a muscle and contract it at the same time. It has to relax. So stabilize both arms. Great. Stabilize your left hip. Stabilize your left lower back, but soften your right hip and your right lower back. And when you breathe, again, feel everything swell to allow air to come in. When you exhale, let gravity take over. Just flop down. Stabilize. And relax through that muscle stretching. And play with that. If you want to bring your knee up a little higher, oh, that helps me stretch a little more. But we're stretching the lower back and the hip. So you got to keep that relaxed. And we'll inhale back to center, one knee at a time. Let's extend the, let's bring the right knee into the chest. Wrap the arms around the right knee. We're stretching the lower back again. Fill the belly, feel the knee push away from the belly because it's expanding. As you exhale and the belly falls toward the floor, I can use my arms to stabilize my upper back. That will help me stretch my lower back. I can use my arms to stabilize my knee a little closer to my chest. But when I breathe again, I'm going to have to let it go. And now, so I'm inhaling, feeling everything fill, feeling my knee push away, exhaling gently, softly, not angrily. You have to be gentle. Gently, softly, easing that knee toward the shoulder. Inhaling, it pushes away a little bit. Exhale, I can gently, softly ease that knee. Now relax your right hip, relax your lower back. And now we'll switch it up a little bit. Now I'm all backwards. Bring your right knee toward your left shoulder. Use your left arm. That's my right arm. Use your left arm. That's why I get confused all the time. Use your left arm. Stabilize your left arm. Use that to start to pull your right knee toward your left shoulder. So inhale again. Oh, I gotta let go of the knee. Exhale. Stabilize. Use my arm, but soften the leg, soften the waist. Inhale, fill. Exhale. Use the arm. Relax the back. And as you inhale, come back to center. And we'll just switch sides. So I'm going to bring the opposite knee into the chest. Relax everything. And let's go back to our regular breath cycle. Inhale, fill. Exhale. Let everything come back to center. You'll feel your belly naturally sink, and that's going to create space for you to bring your knee in toward your shoulder a little bit. But be gentle with your left hip and your left lower back because we want to stretch them. You can stabilize with your right hip. You can stabilize with your right lower back. You can stabilize with your right shoulder. And you can even stabilize with your left shoulder. But when you exhale, let everything go out of this left hip. So when I inhale, everything fills. When I exhale, I'm going to let everything go out of the muscle I'm stretching. I can't let everything go out of this or I don't stabilize. So again, that is how we live. There are small little trade-offs all over the place. One muscle contracts, one muscle relaxes, but maybe it can't relax all the way. If this is my stabilizing leg, it can't relax all the way, or this guy can't stretch all the way. So it's a balance. And my point with all of this is that it's subtle. You really do have to pay close attention to feel the subtlety. And I spend so much time on this because I worked with a gentleman yesterday who had a backache. And, I've gone to all these doctors. Nobody can fix it for me. He's the only one that can fix that. He's the only one that knows where it hurts. He's the only one that will ever know where the imbalance is, where he is perhaps injured and is unable to stabilize. He will not know that until he stops to feel into it. But once you do feel into it, like my new stomach, my new abdominal muscle, you can fix it. It's not, I won't say it's not. I'm not a doctor. It might not be a huge functional problem. There could be a deep injury there. And let me tell you, there is a deep, deep tightness there, and it's taking time. It is not completely relaxed. But every time I sink into it, and today I'm going to run, and I am so excited to run. What? You ever heard of anybody being excited to run? I'm so excited to run to use my new abdominal muscle. On Wednesday, I felt it for the first time, and I didn't run that day. I ran yesterday for just a mile. Oh my gosh. But then it started tightening up, and I had to stop, which is not my norm. I mean, more is always better, right? My face is all swollen today because I tasted brownie cookie dough ice cream for the first time yesterday. The sugar is not good to me. But of course, after I finished the first bowl, I had another one. Oh my gosh, more is always better. Well, today I'm hungover. I couldn't wake up. My eyes are swollen like golf balls. I feel sluggish. Someday, I hope I'll learn. I haven't yet. Let's go to Final Shavasana. Just allow your whole body to relax. Feel into it. What sensations are there? It's such a little thing to feel those sensations. You take it for granted. But if you've ever been cut off from it, if you've ever spent time just feeling that nagging pain in your lower back, and then all of a sudden you did something to open it up, that feels so good. Now, how much better would it be if you knew what you did? That's possible, but it takes time, and it just takes regular effort. And that's what we're doing. This isn't a huge workout. It is good for you. And you will get stronger. But you're not going to develop big bulging muscles, but you're going to understand your body. And then when you walk, when you reach for something on a shelf, when you try to walk faster because you want to keep up with someone in your exercise class, whatever, you know what you have to do. And that is so exciting. You have power. So let's just take a few more moments. Where do you feel sensations? Right now, I'm feeling sensations in my new abdominal muscle. I'm also feeling sensations right under my new abdominal muscle. Because I think what's happening, I've talked a lot about agonist and antagonist. They're both interconnected. And this guy is relaxing, and I think it's causing this guy to relax. I think somehow, I don't know, they got stuck together or something. But now I've got two muscles that are twitching and relaxing. If you have a child who's screaming his head off and it's time to go to bed. And you rock and rock and rock. Child finally begins to relax. The last thing you want to do, hey, are you sleeping? Hey, you sleeping? No, let it go. Let it go. Feel into whatever you feel. The sensations, the twitching, extra blood in an area. Just feel it. Don't poke it. Just feel it. It's taking over. It's doing what it needs to do, which is the same as that child sleeping. That child needs to sleep. This muscle needs to do whatever it needs to do. So just feel. Don't plan. I'm talking to myself now. Stop planning. Stop fantasizing about being a great runner someday. Stop drawing out the future. Well, if this happens, then that might happen. Stop rebelling. Well, if I'm not supposed to think that, fine, I'm going to plan dinner. Just feel. Just feel. Just feel. Just feel. But what about the just feel? Oh my gosh, my other just feel. We've reached the end of our time today. Allow yourself to move, to bring yourself back. Or if that silent stillness feels good, maybe stay with it for a little longer. Whenever you're ready, roll to one side. Feel some blood. Feel it, just let it sink down toward the floor. And then the problem with getting up too soon is that if the blood is pooled in one direction, sometimes it doesn't pump up to the head. When we roll to one side, then we know that we just shifted the pooling, and now we know the blood is moving. So sometimes I wonder if those of us with really tight muscles have some kind of screaming child that never quite learned to self-soothe. I don't know, and I'm not qualified to say. I just sometimes just blurt out what's happening, what are the thoughts in my brain. Thanks for joining me. I hope that some of this was productive for you today. I hope that I'll see you again tomorrow, 7 a.m. for AM status hearing. And I hope you have a great day. Namaste. today I need some silent stillness right now. So I'm going to disconnect for purposes of the video. And I'm going to reconnect for some silent stillness, 15, 20 minutes. If you're interested and you want to come back, what I'll do is just be sitting here and I will kind of talk you through a guided relaxation. But it'll be my style, so it might not be what may not resonate with you, maybe it will. But I will be back in a few minutes. Thanks again.